Hi everyone, my name's Madison. I am going to be a junior at CU Boulder, and I took Ochem last year, Ochem 1 in the fall and Ochem 2 in the spring. And just so that you understand a little bit of credibility for this video, last semester when I took Ochem 2, I ended with over 100% and one of the highest scores in the class. So these are some of the techniques that I learned throughout my time in Ochem for how I successfully studied. So the main thing that I did when I studied is that I would create a question list for myself. And basically for each chapter, I would start with a very general rule outline like I have right here. And these were mainly things that I found from Ochem as a second language. I really liked that resource. That's what helped me have a very deep understanding of everything. So I would use Ochem as a second language to come up with very general rules. So for example, this question list was developed about acid reactions, so carboxylic acid reactions. So this is saying what's the general order of a carboxylic reaction. Now, if I was going to answer this question, what I would do is I'd say, okay, first we'll attack the carbonyl, and the second thing is we'll reform the carbonyl. So as you can see, those are our two main steps. We'll have our starting material, we'll attack it, and we'll reform the carbonyl, and that'll lead us to our end product. So as you can see, I could go over, see that I basically got it right, and then because I got it right, I'd do a little green dot. And that's how, when I'm going through my rule book, that's how I like to assess to see if I got things right or wrong. If I get something wrong, partially wrong, it'll get a yellow dot, and if I get something entirely wrong, it gets a red dot. And I kind of developed this system based off Anki. I used to use Anki for all my other subjects, and Anki basically says that if you miss a question when you're first learning it, that you want to redo it after the minute. So as I'm reviewing this, if I get a red dot, I'll review it automatically like after a few questions, and then if I get a green dot, I won't review it until like another 10 minutes or so. So that's how I like to study. And my questions definitely vary in the types of questions that I ask. So obviously I can ask general rule questions. Some of my questions are a little bit more memorization based. Just here's a simple product, add a reagent and what, or a reactant. So you start with the reactant, you add a reagent, and I'm asking what the product is. So that's a very classic type of question. Anytime I'm answering a question, I'll always cover up the answer. And then some of my questions are a little bit more less memorization based. So, for example, where else can we go when we get the second product? I'm asking for a more application based. And so these questions that I create for myself are based off Ochem as a second language, which is mainly for my very general overview questions, and then of course my notes. And every day after lecture, I'll just go through all my notes and Ochem as a second language and create this question sheet for myself, and I practice it every day, and that's how I mainly study. So this is my favorite resource that I've used for Ochem, and I just wanted to share it with you all because I think it's a great way for us to not just try to memorize organic chemistry, but to really understand it, and that's how you're going to go and get A+ in Ochem. It's really, if you're just trying to memorize everything, it can be really hard to be a top scorer in your class because most professors will ask questions that are not just memorization. You know, like for example, my professor would ask mechanism questions where we'd never seen the mechanism before. And if I just memorized it and I didn't understand it, I wouldn't be able to get those questions right. So this type of question sheet really allowed me to ask all sorts of questions, both memorization and more complicated understanding questions. So I hope this video helped. This is my main way that I go about studying for organic chemistry. I don't normally study like this for synthesis questions. I'll make another video later on how I study for synthesis, but this is how I study for the predict the product or all the other questions that my professor will ask besides synthesis questions. So I hope it helped.